Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Gossips 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Brooke Logan stood alone in the bedroom, the early morning light spilling softly through the tall windows of the Forrester Estate guest suite. Her suitcase lay open on the bed, half-packed, clothes folded with the kind of careful precision that came from someone trying not to think too hard about what they were doing. Italy. The word echoed in her mind like a promise and a warning at the same time. A fresh start. A pause. Maybe even a goodbye. She ran her fingers over the edge of the suitcase, exhaling slowly, when a familiar voice, low, shaken, unmistakably Ridge, cut through the quiet like a crack of thunder. He hadn't meant to raise his voice, but fear had a way of pushing past pride. "Brooke, please don't go." She froze. Her shoulders tensed, her heart betraying her by pounding harder than it had moments ago. She hadn't expected him to come so early, hadn't expected him at all. Turning slowly, she faced the man who had been the great love of her life and at times her greatest heartbreak. Ridge Forrester stood in the doorway, eyes red, jaw tight, looking like a man who had just realized the ground beneath him was crumbling. He took a step forward, then another, as if afraid she might vanish if he blinked. "Don't get on that plane," he said again, his voice cracking now. "Not with Nick. Not like this." Brooke crossed her arms, more to steady herself than to push him away. She had rehearsed this moment in her head. What she would say if Ridge tried to stop her. How she would stay calm. How she wouldn't let herself fall back into the same emotional trap. But seeing him like this, stripped of his confidence and swagger, undone by the possibility of losing her again, made every prepared word evaporate. "Ridge," she said softly, "you can't come in here and do this. Not now. I've already made my decision." He shook his head immediately, stepping closer until there was barely any space between them, the air thick with decades of shared history. "No, you made a decision because you thought you didn't matter to me anymore," he said. "And that's not true. God, Brooke, that's the furthest thing from the truth." She laughed bitterly, the sound sharp and fragile. "Then why does it always feel like I'm the one waiting? The one forgiving? The one standing still while you decide what you want?" Ridge reached for her hands, and this time she didn't pull away. His grip was warm, familiar, desperate. "Because I'm an idiot," he admitted. "Because I let my fear and my pride and my past mess everything up. But I'm standing here now, begging you not to walk away." Outside, the Forrester estate was waking up, unaware that inside one quiet room, two souls were teetering on the edge of another life-changing moment. Brooke's eyes glistened as she looked at him, really looked at him, the lines etched deeper by stress, the vulnerability he so rarely showed anyone else. "Nick didn't beg me," she said quietly. "He didn't ask me to prove anything. He just offered me peace. A chance to breathe." Ridge swallowed hard at the mention of his half-brother's name. The rivalry, the jealousy, the complicated history surged back instantly. "Nick doesn't know you like I do," Ridge shot back. "He hasn't lived your highs and lows. He hasn't fought through everything we've fought through." Brooke shook her head. "That's the problem, Ridge. We've fought through everything. And I'm tired. I'm tired of loving you more than you love me in return." The words hit him like a physical blow. He staggered back a step, running a hand through his hair, pacing like a caged animal. "I do love you," he insisted. "I've always loved you. You're my destiny." She met his gaze steadily. "Then why does your destiny always seem to leave me behind?" For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was heavy, filled with unspoken regrets and memories. Weddings and divorces, betrayals and reconciliations, stolen kisses and devastating arguments. Ridge finally stopped pacing and looked at the suitcase on the bed. The reality of it all sank in. "You're really leaving," he murmured. "You're really choosing him." Brooke hesitated, and that hesitation was everything. "I'm choosing myself," she said. "For once." Ridge walked to the bed and placed his hand on the suitcase, closing it gently, almost reverently. "Then let me choose you," he said. "Let me fight for you without distractions, without mistakes. Don't go to Italy to run away from us. Stay. Stay and let us finally get it right." Her breath caught, tears spilling freely now. "You've said that before," she whispered. "And every time I believed you. Every time I paid the price. He dropped to his knees in front of her, the powerful Forrester air reduced to a man pleading for the woman he loved. I know, he said hoarsely, and I hate myself for it. But please don't make this the moment we give up. Brooke reached down, cupping his face, her thumbs brushing away tears he hadn't even realized were falling. I don't want to hurt you, she said. But I don't know how to stay without hurting myself. Ridge pressed his forehead to her stomach, his voice muffled. Then let me be better, he said. Let me prove it. Downstairs, the sound of a car pulling into the driveway echoed faintly, Nick arriving to take Brooke to the airport. Time was running out. Brooke closed her eyes, torn between the past that refused to let her go and the future calling her name. She looked at Ridge one last time, lifting his chin so he had to meet her gaze. I love you, she said. That's the cruelest part of all. He nodded, hope and terror warring in his eyes. Then stay, he whispered. Please don't go. The doorbell rang sharp and final. Brooke inhaled deeply, her heart breaking no matter which choice she would make. Slowly, she turned toward the door, leaving Ridge and their fate hanging in the balance. Brooke's hand hovered over the doorknob, her knuckles white from the tension. Each breath felt heavier than the last. Ridge's pleading eyes were fixed on her, almost unbearable to meet. She wanted to stay, she did, but every fiber of her being screamed that she needed space, a chance to breathe without the constant weight of Ridge's mistakes, his pride, his stubborn heart. And yet, the thought of leaving him like this, broken and desperate, felt cruel. She exhaled slowly, trying to gather the courage to make her next move, when the sound of a car horn downstairs jolted her. Nick. He was here. Ridge's eyes darkened. The subtle shift in the room's atmosphere was like an electric shock. Tension crackled as unspoken questions swirled. Ridge knew this confrontation was inevitable. Nick had always been in the picture, always a presence Brooke had leaned on in moments of desperation. But this was different. This was no casual reassurance. This was the tipping point, the moment where Brooke had chosen, or at least thought she had, a path without him. Ridge took a step back, trying to compose himself, to maintain the calm exterior he often displayed so effortlessly, but the raw edge in his voice betrayed him. Go if you must, he said, his tone sharp. But I need you to know what leaving does to me. To us. Brooke's chest tightened at his words. She wanted to speak, to articulate the whirlwind of emotion tearing her apart, but no sound came out. Words had failed them before, and perhaps they would fail again. Nick's car horn honked again, louder this time. Brooke looked down at her suitcase, then at Ridge, torn between love and reason, past and future, duty and desire. I don't know, she whispered. Her voice was fragile, a reflection of the battle raging inside her. Ridge took a tentative step closer, closing the distance. Then stay. Let me show you. Let me fix the things I've broken. Let me be the man you need me to be. His hand reached out for hers, but she pulled slightly away, holding her ground, trying to maintain her fragile composure. He followed her movement like a predator circling, desperate, knowing that with each passing second, the opportunity to hold her was slipping further from his grasp. Brooke, please, he murmured, his voice barely audible. I can't do this without you. You've been my center for so long. Don't abandon me now. Brooke's eyes filled with tears. She loved him, of course she loved him, but love alone had not been enough to save them in the past. She could feel the pull of the decision she was about to make, a tug of war between her heart and her need for self-preservation. Ridge, she said softly, her voice trembling. I can't keep living in the cycles of us, the mistakes, the heartbreak, the endless waiting. I need something different. I need peace. Her words landed like stones, heavy and unyielding, yet filled with the vulnerability of someone who wanted to believe in love, but had been bruised one too many times. Ridge's jaw tightened, his mind racing. He remembered every night spent apart from her, every mistake, every choice that had hurt her deeply. He remembered the longing in her eyes when she had looked at him after forgiving yet another misstep. He knew this was it, the defining moment where either he would fight or lose her completely. Peace? He asked, his voice low, almost a growl. You think Italy will give you peace? You think Nick can give you peace? Brooke, peace doesn't exist outside of us. It never has and it never will. We are fire together. And if you leave, that fire dies. The desperation in his voice was palpable. The unguarded vulnerability raw, terrifying. Brooke took a step back, tears spilling freely now. She could feel the gravity of Ridge's words, the intensity of the history they shared, the undeniable pull of a love that had weathered decades. But she also remembered the heartbreak, the betrayals, the sleepless nights spent questioning if she mattered more to him than his ego or his pride. She wanted to melt into him, to let herself be consumed by the warmth of his embrace, but she couldn't ignore the rational part of her mind, the part that needed to take control, to reclaim agency over her life. I need to breathe, Ridge. I need a life where my heart isn't constantly on the line. A life where I can wake up without wondering if the person I love most is going to hurt me again. Her voice quivered with emotion, each word a dagger and a plea at once. Ridge's eyes softened, the raw anger and desperation melting into something deeper, more tender. He reached out and took her hands in his again, this time more gently, with reverence. I know I've hurt you, he said. I know I've made mistakes you shouldn't have had to forgive. But Brooke, leaving won't heal that. Only together can heal this. Please, don't take off to Italy thinking it's the answer. The answer is here with me. He leaned his forehead against hers, and the heat of his breath mingled with the soft morning light. You've been my world. Don't abandon it. Don't abandon me. The sound of footsteps on the stairs snapped both of them back to reality. Nick. Brooke's heart leapt painfully. She felt the pull of him, steady, dependable. The man who had always offered stability without strings, without the emotional roller coaster she had known with Ridge. The conflict inside her surged, a storm she had no control over. Ridge, sensing the looming confrontation, tightened his grip, unwilling to let her slip through his fingers without a fight. Go down if you want, he said softly, but know that I am standing here and I am not giving up. Not now, not ever. Brooke's gaze drifted downward, toward the suitcase again. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, each choice a potential heartbreak, each decision a gamble with her own emotions. She knew that once she walked out that door, the path would be irrevocable. Nick was waiting, ready to whisk her away into a new chapter, a chance for happiness unmarred by the endless complications of Ridge's world. But could she truly walk away from the man she had loved? The man who had been her center, her storm, her constant for decades? Her mind screamed yes, her heart screamed no. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the estate waking up, the distant sound of a car door slamming. Ridge looked up at her, eyes filled with pleading, and something inside Brooke broke. A fissure she couldn't repair. She wanted to turn, to run, to escape the pain and the indecision. But then Ridge spoke again, his voice barely above a whisper, yet cutting through her defenses like a knife. Brooke, stay with me. Stay and let's finally be honest, finally be whole. Don't let Italy be the place where you find yourself. Find yourself here with me. His words were both a plea and a promise, raw with the vulnerability he rarely allowed anyone to see. Brooke's tears flowed freely now, her body trembling with the intensity of the emotions coursing through her. Before she could respond, the bedroom door swung open, and Nick stepped in, calm yet radiating a quiet urgency. Brooke, we have to go, he said, his voice gentle but firm. The flight won't wait, and neither should you. His eyes flicked to Ridge, a subtle challenge in his gaze, unspoken but understood. Ridge didn't flinch. He remained on his knees looking up at Brooke as if she were the sun, the world, everything he had ever wanted and lost too many times. The tension was unbearable, a knife's edge between past and future, love and reason. Brooke felt her chest tighten. She loved Nick, she did, but she loved Ridge in a way that was elemental, primal, something that went beyond logic. And yet, the rational part of her mind screamed at her to go, to take a step toward a life with fewer complications, a life where her heart might not be shattered repeatedly. She looked between the two men, her heart splitting in ways she had thought impossible. Ridge's gaze was raw, desperate, unyielding. Nick's was steady, reassuring, a promise of calm amidst chaos. Brooke knew that whatever choice she made would change everything. There was no turning back after this. For a long suspended moment Brooke said nothing. Time itself seemed to stop. The suitcase lay on the bed, a symbol of the path she could take, the life she could escape into. Ridge's hand still held hers, warm, insistent. Nick stood patiently, the weight of his presence a quiet reminder that life didn't have to be a battlefield of emotions, that love could be simpler, gentler, less consuming. And in that moment, Brooke realized something. She realized that love wasn't always about peace, or stability, or ease. Sometimes, love was about passion, about fighting for what you couldn't live without, about facing the storm together rather than running from it. Her eyes met Ridge's, and in that gaze she saw a reflection of every moment they had shared, every memory, every mistake, every triumph, every heartbreak. And she saw the truth she had always known but had tried to deny. Ridge was her home, her storm, her fire. And she couldn't walk away, not now, not ever. Brooke slowly knelt down to meet Ridge at eye level, tears streaming down both their faces now. "Ridge," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. I can't leave." Ridge's lips trembled as he caught her in a tight, desperate embrace, holding her as if he could never let go again. The suitcase sat forgotten on the bed, the flight forgotten, and the world outside ceased to exist. It was just them, two hearts battered and bruised, finally finding each other again after years of pain and longing. Nick, realizing the inevitable, took a step back. His jaw tightened, but he nodded silently, respecting the bond that was unbreakable despite all logic, all reason. He turned and left the room quietly, leaving Brooke and Ridge alone, the weight of decades of love and heartbreak finally giving way to a moment of fragile, triumphant reunion. Ridge held Brooke tighter, his voice breaking as he whispered, "Please, never leave me again." Brooke's head rested against his chest, her tears soaking his shirt, and she whispered back, "Never. Promise. Never again." And in that moment the past was forgiven, the future uncertain but full of possibility, and two hearts, battered by life and love, beat together in a fragile, fiery, unbreakable union. Brooke pulled back slightly from Ridge's embrace, resting her forehead against his chest but letting her gaze drift toward the window. The morning sun had climbed higher now, casting long warm streaks across the room, but instead of comfort, it seemed almost cruelly bright, illuminating the edges of the decision she had to make. Ridge's heartbeat was steady under her ear, strong, familiar, and unbearably real. Each beat was a reminder of all the years, all the moments, all the love, and all the heartbreak they had shared. She wanted to dissolve into him, to let herself forget the weight of the past mistakes, but the rational side of her mind, the side that had made her pack that suitcase in the first place, whispered that running toward Ridge without thought could only bring more pain. Ridge sensed the hesitation. He tilted his chin up slightly, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Brooke," he said gently but firmly, "look at me. Right now. Don't think about Italy, don't think about Nick. Don't think about the past. Just see me. Just see us." His hands cupped her face now, fingers brushing through her hair with tender insistence. There was an intensity in his gaze that made her breath hitch. The kind of intensity that had drawn her in years ago. The kind that had never truly faded, no matter how many times they'd fallen apart. Brooke closed her eyes, letting the memory of their first kiss, the countless late nights at Forrester, and the moments when they had believed in forever wash over her. She could feel herself swaying slightly, caught between reason and desire, between a safe, calm life with Nick and a passionate, unpredictable life with Ridge. And as she leaned into him, she could feel the raw truth of her heart. Ridge was never going to let go, and maybe, just maybe, she didn't want him to. The quiet was shattered by the unmistakable sound of a car horn from outside. "Nick." Again. The sound jolted Brooke, making her heart skip a beat. She pulled back reluctantly from Ridge, searching his eyes for guidance, for clarity, for any sign that staying wasn't a mistake. Ridge didn't speak immediately. He simply held her gaze, and in that moment Brooke felt the pull of all the years, all the passion, all the love. They were a gravity neither of them could escape. "Nick's waiting," she whispered, her voice fragile. I can't just ignore him." Ridge exhaled sharply, running a hand down his face, visibly struggling to maintain composure. "I know," he said finally. "I know he's waiting. But Brooke, Nick isn't me. He can't give you what we have. What we've had. You've felt it every time we've been together, every time we've been apart. You can't just step onto that plane thinking you'll find peace or happiness in his arms." His voice wavered slightly, betraying the fear he tried so hard to hide. "Because peace, happiness. It's always been with us, Brooke. It's always been us. Brooke shook her head, tears streaming down her face. But the pain, Ridge, she said, her voice breaking. The heartbreak. How do I know it won't happen again? She looked down at her suitcase, her fingers brushing over the zipper as if it could somehow offer her comfort. How do I know that one day I won't be standing in this same room, staring at you and wondering why I stayed? Ridge knelt again, pulling her hands into his. Because this time, he said, his voice low, determined, I'm not going to let you go. This time I won't make the same mistakes. This time I'll fight for us every single day. You've been my life, Brooke. Every choice I've made, every failure, every misstep, it all led to this moment. Please don't take off to Italy thinking that running will make things better. The only thing that will make things better is us, together. Brooke's breath caught, her chest tightening at the intensity of his words. Her mind screamed caution, but her heart felt alive in a way that it hadn't for years. She could feel Ridge's desperation, the raw truth in his voice, and the weight of all the memories they had shared pressed on her soul. And yet the rational side, the side that had packed that suitcase, reminded her that the world outside this room, outside this moment, demanded decisions. A car door slammed outside, sharp and final. Brooke turned, feeling a pang of guilt and longing as she imagined Nick waiting patiently in the driveway, ready to take her to a new life, a calmer life, a life that didn't make her heart ache every single day. Ridge followed her gaze, noticing the flicker of conflict in her eyes. He gently cupped her face again. Brooke, wherever you go, whatever you do, just know that I am here. And I am not giving up. Not ever. Don't let the plane leave without you. Don't leave me with what-ifs. Brooke's hands trembled as she pressed them against his chest, feeling the warmth of his body, the rhythm of his heartbeat. She wanted to speak, to find the words that would reconcile desire and reason, love and fear, past and future. But no words came. Instead, she let the silence between them speak. The shared history, the heartbreak, the longing, the undeniable truth of their connection. Ridge leaned closer, pressing his forehead to hers, whispering, Please stay with me. Don't let this be goodbye. Brooke closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She felt the suitcase at her feet, the call of Italy, the pull of stability and calm. But she also felt Ridge's hands holding hers, the intensity of his gaze, the warmth of the love that had survived everything. And in that moment clarity came. Not easy clarity, not peaceful clarity, but clarity born of truth. She wasn't leaving. Not now. Not ever. She opened her eyes and whispered, her voice shaking but resolute, Ridge, I'm not going. Relief washed over him like a tide. He lifted her into his arms, holding her tightly, as if the act itself could erase every wrong they had ever endured. Outside, the world continued to turn, the car waited, the plane called. But inside that room, time seemed to stand still. Brooke rested her head against Ridge's chest, her tears soaking into his shirt, her heart finally at home. And Ridge, finally, felt the weight of decades lift off his shoulders, knowing that she had chosen him. Not the easy path, not the safe path, but the path of fire and love, the path they had always belonged on together. For a long moment they simply held each other, breathing in the reality of the choice, the relief, the overwhelming emotion. Outside, the morning sun shone brighter now, reflecting off the windows like a silent witness to their reunion. And though the future was uncertain, though challenges and heartbreak were inevitable, for that moment Ridge and Brooke were together, and that in itself was enough.